times that we do not want those things to come up. And we will want. We'll be on the verge. I want to get involved. Maybe I want to get more involved in church. I want to reach out more, get more friends. But every time you go to do that, your pain cries out or your past cries out. And it all, no matter what, we could be here. It could be 1,000 people in here. In the back row, somebody bust out laughing. And you're thinking they're laughing at you because in first grade, you fell out your chair. And when you fell out your chair, the whole class laughed at you falling out your chair. And those people back there aren't even thinking about you. They don't even see you. You're not even, not saying you're not important. Well, yeah, you're not important to their situation right now. And you think that they started something back there about you. Why? Because it took you back to a painful experience that you never rightfully dealt with. Because every time the opportunity for you to deal with it comes up, what do? We run from it. Are we hiding? Are we saying, I don't care what people think about me. Now, there is a place you can get to where you really don't care what people think about you. But some of the I don't care what people think about me is pains from childhood, crying out as a defense mechanism to make it look like, I don't care, I don't care. But you know what shows you care? Your nonverbal communication, your posture, your behavior, your demeanor, everything about you shows that you do care. And what my encouragement to all of us is that all of you guys are young, that you deal with it at a young age so that as you get older, it doesn't come back up. And that you deal with it because some of you're about to have children, you already have children, you want to identify those pains in the past that you won't, that you don't want to address because your kids may have to deal with some of those same things that you have to deal with. So you want to clear the path so that they don't have to struggle with some of the things that you didn't address. All right, any questions? No questions, okay. The next quote, one of my favorite quotes. Champions have terrible memories. What do y'all think that means? Remember, I record.
In order for you to become a champion, you had to have something to fight against.
Right.
And when I say that, you had to have some losses. You had to go up against challenges. So you always use that to motivate you to go to win.
Or develop or to mature your craft or that what you do. You cannot remember easily. You can't remember your last defeat because if you keep remembering your last defeat, that's where you're going to live at. And you're going to mess up in another battle and you'll be defeated again. One of the things in baseball we learned was there's a thing called make errors. In errors, the ball hit to you, you bobble the ball or overthrow the ball or something like that. That's an error. One of the things that coaches teach you is stay out of your head because if you're stuck at that last error, you're going to make another error. Can we apply that to our own lives? And which way can we apply that to our own lives? Because if we stay stuck in past mistakes, we will continue to repeat those same mistakes, or we will repeat mistakes that kind of look similar to that last mistake that we made. So what we want to do is, we want to be able to erase the memory or the influence of that which happened to us. Champions are able to do that. You know why? Because champions don't dwell on former defeats or victories. And you might say, well, why wouldn't they dwell on the former victories? Because if you dwell on the former victory, you'll stay at the level that you are, and you won't be able to. Anybody play video games? Anybody play video games? Anybody ever play video games? Okay. What video games have y'all played?
Donkey Kong.
Can't hear you.
Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong. Mario.
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man.
Wrestling.
What else, y'all?
Like Candy.
Sonic.
What's some other video games?
And it's Sonic.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes.
All those video
Mario
games.
Brothers.
Yep, Mario Brothers. That was the original one, the Super Mario.
Yes.
and Luigi. But each of those games have what?
Levels.
Levels, right? And in each level, you can't use the same strategy as you used the last level, right?
You'll die.
Because if you use the same strategy, what's going to happen?
You'll die.
You'll die. That's the same thing as far as what they're saying about champions. Champions they have terrible memories because they don't allow the strategy that they use once to affect the strategy that they use in their next battle. So my encouragement to each of y'all, Overseer said he's building y'all to be what?
Workers, winners, and warriors.
And warriors. If you're ever going to be workers, winners, and warriors, you're going to have to learn how to have a terrible memory. Now, I don't want us to take this in a literal sense,
Right.
where you just say, oh, I can't remember this because I had a friend tell me one time, yeah, God just erased my memory. No, baby, you just didn't want to deal with some of the things you need to deal with. I'm not talking from that sense. I'm talking about the influence and impact that it has on your life. If you're ever going to be a worker, winner, warrior, that's the three, right? Worker, winner, warrior. You must learn how to erase the effect of what you went through so that you can level up. Because some of us are stuck on level 2 or level 3 when we're supposed to be on level 15. I don't know about y'all, but I get a game, I can take that whole day to master that game. That's what I want to do. I always want to level up. That's the same thing we have to be in life. We have to be ready to level up. Let's look at a scripture that will help us with that. In case you said, well, Cliff, I don't believe that applies to my life, and I don't see why you would even say that. Isaiah 43 and 18. And we know this is when God is instructing them, but we're just going to hit this one verse. Do not earnestly remember the former things, neither consider the things of old. When you hit that word earnestly, what does that mean? Anybody know what earnestly means? It's okay, y'all. Y'all relax. Even if you're wrong, it's fine. We'll get there together. But y'all know what earnestly means.
Yeah, like, I know what it means.
Like anticipation or expectation or to yearn for it. To believe that that's the only thing that you will ever have. And he's trying to get us to get on another level of our thoughts. Okay? Next scripture. Same thing is in the voice. I want us to realize, because some of you might say, well, you said champions have terrible memories, even with their victories. That's scripture as well. Listen at this, because when you break this down in the Hebrew, it's not even talking about the bad things for them not to remember, but it's also talking about the way that God brought them out. Because God was introducing them to a new way of what he was about to do. And if you're stuck on what God did or how he did it yesterday, you'll miss out on a wave and a move of God today. So what does it say? Somebody read it.
Brethren, I count not myself.
No.
Sorry.
Isaiah 43, the voice version.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
A little ahead.
Mm-hmm.
It says, Eternal One, don't revel only in the past, or spend all your time recounting the victories of days gone by.
Right. So you see where it comes into what I was saying about champions, where they don't stay stuck even on victories, because they're always ready for the next battle. Always ready for the next battle. And sometimes if we get so focused on what we've accomplished, we'll settle right there. And that's like the video we were watching where it was saying, when you're running a race against people that you are faster than, you'll always win, but your time will never get better. You'll never grow. You'll never develop. That's what it's saying here. All right? Next scripture. Philippians 3, 13 and 14. Brethren, I count not myself to apprehend it, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before. I press towards the mark for the prize of the high calling. What does that word forgetting mean? Forgetting mean to you? Don't tell me what I have on the slideshow. When you hear the word forgetting, Candy, what does that mean? Take the mic.
Stop looking at the
And then pass it to
laptop.
Martine.
Looking at that laptop.
What does it mean to you?
She's on the laptop.
Use the mic. Remember I'm recording.
Oh.
Use the mic. Remember I'm recording.
To me, the forgetting means to not focus
Mm-hmm.
when the things that happen,
Mm-hmm.
because when it says that, it says forgetting those things which are behind, reaching forth it's trying to keep you going to the next level where you can forget, not that you actually forget everything that happened, it's you lose the focus.
I forget everything. Literally. I know that something happened. It could like, something happened between me and you, I know. But I won't dwell on it. Like, I'll forget that it happened until somebody reminds me, or until I literally just sit there and think about it.
Okay. Now, can I, I'm gonna use the word challenge, and that's gonna seem a little rough, but can I challenge you on that? You mind if I challenge you on that? There was,
It's my blessing.
I remember we were talking one time, and we were talking about singing, right? And you were telling me that you don't sing, you don't like to sing. Why? Don't say what it was, but do you remember what it was? So, I have to challenge you concerning that, because there's still that memory there that causes you to hold back or be locked in a box concerning the singing. You get,
Okay, I need you to help me. I need you to help me because okay.
My problem is so much happens that I will just keep moving forward and won't deal with it. So what I was going to ask you is, I know that I have a lot of past pain, but I haven't dealt with it because I just kept going.
Right.
What do I need to do? Because I can literally sit here, like I was sitting thinking about, okay, baby Chris is going to be a year old next month. This whole year I went through hell, and I forgot everything that I had went through because I never dealt with it. I just was like, okay, well, this happened, so I gotta just go to the next thing so I can keep moving forward. But I never dealt with those things and it was a lot of traumatic stuff. If I don't deal with it, then I'm gonna continue to carry it. And I still haven't dealt with the stuff with my childhood. I really forgot. I really forgot. I did not know that why I didn't like to sing until they started asking me to sing. So I had forgotten about that stuff. And my dad used to make me sing when I was like.
As we're moving on, because what happens is, I'm gonna be honest with you, we may appear to be progressing, or we may appear to be growing, but we're not growing or progressing as much as we could be. I'm just talking to those that are coming. As much as we could be if we haven't dealt with those things. Now there's two sides to it, because sometimes some things don't get addressed until you do grow, until you're confronted with the situation, and now you have to face it. Because there are a lot of things that we block out. For whatever reason, we put it in the recesses of our mind, and when we put it in the recesses of our mind, we don't go back to it. However, there are things that God will allow to happen to cause those things to come back up. Now that's when real growth and development comes, because now it's what are you going to do with it now? So what you have to begin to do is, with your past and your pain, and we're going to get to some principles at the end. I don't want to go ahead of myself. What you're going to have to do is, now the things that you know need to be dealt with, you're going to have to face them head on. And it may be in you realizing you may need strategy from God, but also from counseling. You know, I know a lot of people say, you don't need counseling, all you need to do is pray. I'm big on counseling. I'm big on counseling because sometimes you need a prophetically sound voice that's laced with an education that can make you deal with some of the stuff you're hiding from. Because it's just like deliverance. In deliverance, when you really learn deliverance, you understand how the hierarchy of the enemy is set up. And you may be up here and you really need to know it as a deliverance worker, because you'll be so caught up and people coughing that you won't realize that all that's coming out is a shield. That shield's job is to protect the strong man. So if that shield is coming out, you're not even sound, You'll be just excited off of the shield coming out and not realizing you haven't even got to the strong man. That's how it is with many of our lives. The shields will come out. They will. But you need somebody that's skilled and does not care about hurting your feelings, that will make you dig deeper into your life to pull the root of the problem out. Because sometimes all that's going on is we're pulling branches off, we're pulling some bad fruit off, but we're never getting to the root of the problem. And when you never get to the root of the problem, all that's happening is you're circling that same mountain over and over, and in your mind you're thinking, oh, I'm growing. No, we're just going in the, who was it? Circle, round and round. That's all. That's what's going on with us spiritually, going in circles round and round because we're not dealing with the root of the problem. All right? Oh, forget it. What the fuck
No, not me.
Oh, yeah, you.
Your computer.
Oh, did it shut down?
Yeah.
Here you go. Go ahead. What does forgetting mean to you? No. I said to you. That's my definition on that.
Yes. Forgetting. I would say to me, it would be basically, well, it's frozen, so I can't go. Let's see. I would say forgetting would be means. Not saying we actually forget, but to not really look back on it, not to really dwell on certain things.
Okay. Not to dwell on it. That was good. Okay, now here's the definition I have. To lose out of the mind, to neglect, to no longer care for. To lose out of the mind. Out of the mind. That's where the majority of our battle takes place. Up here, in this psyche. Our psyche will take us places, have us locked into places, have us remembering. And this is one of the things I'm going to talk about as we get to the principles. We won't remember things the right way. That's why we can't address them. We don't remember them the right way. You know why? Because many of us live in a fantasy world. We live in a fantasy world. I'm going to hit something, and I know a lot of us may not like to hit this situation, but if you, no kids in here, right? If you struggled with pornography and masturbation and things like that, you created a fantasy world, right? Because you can control that. You're not out of control in that world. You control everything that goes on. Then some of you might say, that's not my struggle. How many of you had an imaginary friend when you were younger because nobody liked you, nobody got along with you, but that imaginary friend, they just enjoyed you. You guys did everything together, and they just stuck close to you, right? Right? That's the fantasy world, which causes us to recreate memories that never happened. From relationship standpoints to personal standpoints. We will recreate situations, we will recreate events, and we will recreate the value of people in our lives, and the value of us in their lives. What do you mean by that? Say you're in a relationship with somebody that you were 199% in that relationship, and they were 10% in it. But in your fantasy world, both of you guys were equally vested in that relationship. So now, every time you think about that person, every time you see that person, what do you remember? Now it's twofold. It's twofold. Let me be honest with you. It's twofold because sometimes we're angry, okay? And when we're angry, we say, I ain't never going back to that. But I want to hit when you're lonely, when you feel like nobody understands you, nobody's answering the phone, nobody wants to hang out. What does your mind tell you about you and that person?
At least they listen to me.
At least they listen to me. Some people say that's the greatest relationship I ever had. And what happens is, because we've measured everything off of that, and we have I always tell people, you have to learn your real value, and you can't subject your value to other people, because people do not know how to properly appraise something that's of value. Ask me what I mean.
What do you mean?
Okay. If you are used to shopping at pawn shops, now I'm not knocking pawn shops because I got stuff in pawn shops too. But if you're used to shopping at pawn shops and what is it? Like Goodwill and stuff like that, and I shops there, I'm not knocking it. I'm using this for an analogy. But if you're used to shopping there, you don't have the skill set yet to properly appraise a dime. Understand what I'm saying? And you might say, oh, I can appraise a dime. Not a uniquely cut, rare breed of a dime. Right? Am I correct? Or am I wrong? Tell me if I'm wrong.
Because you go to Goodwill.
Okay, now, the problem with many of you guys are, and I go back to Pastor Felder's message over a year ago, he was talking about us being diamonds.
Yeah.
You're subjecting yourself to people that can't appraise who you are because they don't even know their value. So what happens in our mind is it takes us back to irregular or inappropriate appraisal of the value that God is attempting to establish inside of us. So what some of us have to do is say, first, God, erase the unauthentic memories that have been created from my imaginary world. And then we have to come into reality and say, God, now help me deal with the reality of what happened. But some of us honestly don't want to see the reality of what happened. And God will show you. I guarantee you, if you tell God,
I know
God,
that to be
show
so.
me exactly what it is or what it was, He will show you.
I know
He
to
will
be
so
so.
detailed in showing you that if you still make the dumb mistake, you can't blame nobody else but yourself. Because He will show you and hand it right in your face to where you have to confront it. But the first thing we have to deal with is we have to come back from that fantasy world. We have to come back from the fantasy world. Because only in coming back from the fantasy world will we be able to deal with those pains. Because the fantasy world helps us escape pain. It helps us escape it. Because that's what we ran to. That's what we ran to. When we had those imaginary friends or whatever fantasy world we lived in, we ran to it because we found comfort in it. It didn't really challenge us to grow. It just embraced us the way that we are. And that's what we want. We just want somebody to embrace me the way that I am. And I believe you need people around you to embrace you the way that you are, but it doesn't stop there. They also need to challenge you to develop in who you could and should be. All right? So that word forget means to lose it out of our mind. And another one I like was to neglect. There are some memories we just have to neglect. Some pains and some of our past, we have to neglect it. We keep feeding it, and because we keep feeding it, that's why it's so powerful in our lives. And the reality is, it's not our past yet. It's our present. It's still our present. All right? This word what is that? Forgetting those things. What does that word things mean to you? Here you go. Then pass it to Martina. Forgetting those things. What are some things that you have? Don't tell me your personal stuff, but when you hear the word things, what do you think about?
Forgetting those things.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it could have been forgetting those things. It could have been memories, old past, old time.
When the Bible says, the scripture we were just reading, it says, forgetting those things. What does that mean to you when you hear that word things?
Forgetting those people, forgetting those hurts, forgetting those truly traumatic experiences.
Oh, yes. Yes. I, the one thing that stood out to me was those things that are behind those things of experience that we dealt with those people that we no longer deal with for whatever reason. Those person, place, or things, those traumatic situations, circumstances, environmental, social, even those things that we try to say that we're over. For me, or those things, those all encompass those things, forgetting to neglect. And but one thing that you said was, what was it? I just had it. Those things that those fantasies that are still present. And I remember talking to someone, and I said, it's nice to say that we're over them, we're over it, but we still find ourselves reenacting those things out today that are present. Because the moment that something happened, we're the ones that go, see, you just like the rest of them that did this. You're just like the rest of them, and then those things that we said, those people that we were over, but we still remind ourselves, oh, at least they listened, so let me go back to them.
Right.
That's what really stood out to me.
And the powerful thing about what you said is, we'll say at least they listen, but if we're honest about it, they really ain't listening.
Mm-mm.
We listen to them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or then they listen to us. But at that moment, because we're just upset and we're in our baby feelings, and we just want to be heard, and we're dealing with all those insecurities, it will make us relapse into things that we are greater than. My thing with to forget, I always like to talk about the influence. The influence of it. Because that's the thing that really hits us. Because if we be honest, it's not necessarily the person. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
They are the shell of what we keep running back to. But the reality is, we could substitute them with any other past person or anybody else, but it's the shell that we keep running back to. It's actually the dispensation of time that we're really running back to. So we always will say, I'll deal with the person. I'll deal with what Andre did to me, but I won't deal with that timeline of my life. So because I won't deal with the timeline, I keep throwing him into my life, and it's not even about him. It's about those things that still reign in my life from that time and dispensation of my life. So if you're ever going to get past your past and past your pain, now you have to visit your timeline. Take the focus off of people and revisit your timeline. From decisions you made, from things that you said, things that you experienced, revisit those things, because that's where the root of the problem is. The root of the problem is not Andre. It's not. Andre, hypothetically, Andre, you're not the root of my problem. The root of the problem is within me. It's something inside of me. It's a kingdom that I've established inside of me that connects me with you, or connects me with your frame. Like I said, some of us, we go back to our childhood, and everybody that looks like the one that picked on us, looks like the one that teased us, looks like the one that dumped us, we will not connect with them to this day. And the reality is, they may be the ones that are holding our deliverance. They may be the ones that hold our breakthrough.
I know that to be
but
true.
Because of the fact that they look like the painful experience that we had, we won't connect with them. Everybody that looks like Andre, I don't want nothing to do with them, because they all the same. They all the same.
Oh, that's true.
Everybody that talks like him, everybody that walks like him, everybody that looks like him, everybody that laughs like him, everybody that's like, they're all the same.
All the same. All Andres.
And we don't even realize we went back
If
to
your
the
name is
garden.
Andre.
We went back to the garden. Because when God addressed Adam, what did Adam say? This woman that you gave me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we deal with our problems too. Well, if Andre hadn't did what he did to me in 4th grade, I wouldn't be making this decision today at 36.
Good Lord. But
Doesn't make sense.
But that's true.
He just went back to the garden.
But that's
we went
true.
back to the garden. I don't want to take responsibility because, and we really want to go back to it because we always want to, I'm a man. I'm a man. Who was the command given to?
The man.
Okay, all right, that's what I'm saying. It was given to him, but he passed the buck. Now, the sad part about it today in society, as men and women will pass the buck. And we'll say, nah, because I take responsibility for my actions. But the reality is, we may not verbally say it, but if we go visit this mine, if we took a day and took a tour in some of our minds would still be full of people that we have identified with hurts and pains, rejections, and some of these things we classify as, oh, they rejected me. I always was rejected. Baby, sometimes it was God sparing your life. Because if they hadn't rejected you, we'd be in some crazier stuff than we were in. We were already in some crazy stuff. So can you imagine if some of the people had not rejected us?
Oh.
What if we ended up in some of the relationships that we were in?
My God, I wouldn't even be here.
What if we ended up hanging around some of the people that we wanted to hang around?
Oh, I'll tell you where I'd be.
We'd be locked up somewhere, dead somewhere.
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't be
Full of
dead.
something, some type of diseases and everything. Why? Because
But it cures.
we thought it was rejection, but it was preservation.
Preservation. Come on,
It
Apostle.
wasn't rejection, it was preservation. He was preserving that which he had invested inside of us. Let's take these steps and then we're done.
Okay.
All right?
Oh, no, that's what they're doing now. They-
It was not rejection, it was
Reveal, they'll take it to the
preservation.
bathroom.
That's what we have to understand about it. They're not rejecting you. God is preserving you. And he understands that if he doesn't preserve the investment inside of us, surely we're not going to preserve it. Because some of us are so such emotional, I'm going to say this, emotional whores, that we will continue to put ourselves in emotional situations
Wow.
that will crush our destiny. And then we'll classify it as, and use it for our good. But it was not necessarily, we necessarily didn't have to go through that. But it was us. It was us, not dealing with the past and the pain. So what do we need to do? Steps to take. I encourage you to write these steps down. I got them in 3 different categories, but they all have the same steps. First, we have to be completely honest about our past.
Completely honest.
Completely honest about our past. How many of y'all believe you're completely honest about your past?
Once we get out them fantasies, honey, I'm not.
Right.
I
We
got a
have to
good
be
guy.
completely honest about it, because it's only at that completely honest state that God can deal with. He can't deal with our persona. He can't deal with the image that we have created from that fantasy world. He will not deal with fantasy because he created out of reality. All right? Then we have to be completely honest about our pain. Because some of us, I don't care. I don't care what they did to me. What they did to me don't even matter, because you know why? They're not even important to me.
I feed off my
Man, I hear
haters.
what you're saying, but every time they come in the room, you can't get yourself together. Every time you know they're going to be there, you change your plans.
Yes.
Every time I see you around them, you don't even realize it. Sometimes we do stuff subconsciously, and we don't even realize it. Every time you're around them, you're rolling your eyes. You're smacking your teeth. You're mad.
You mad?
are on full level.
Big mad.
We got to deal with those pains. We got to deal with the pains that keep us from connecting with family members that need us. I'm not talking about family members that don't want anything from God, but there's some family members that actually genuinely need us. But because we've connected them with that timeline of our pain, and we've associated with them with that pain, we won't connect with them. We won't. And that's not good. Because can I be honest with you? Some of the stuff is not their fault.
Right.
It's not their fault. Some of it is. But some of it is our fault too, because we were warned.
Oh, that's
Yes.
true.
We were warned.
Yes.
That's true.
But because some of us had this super save mentality, I was watching, yesterday I was watching Batman vs. Superman again. But some of us have this syndrome that we just save everybody. We say, because you know, I was rejected too.
Hold us up.
And because I was rejected, I don't want to see anybody rejected. Maybe there's some people you just gotta let go. You gotta put them in God's hands, because you have to realize you're just not equipped to handle them. You know why? Because you haven't even mastered handling yourself yet.
Wow. Thank you.
You're not equipped for it yet.
I'm just
It may not be your assignment. Here's what you do.
I just gotta let
God,
everybody
send the person assigned to them. Leave it right there. And you focus on what God told you to focus on. But we have to be honest about our pains, y'all. We have to, because no matter what, your pain is gonna show. Oh, it's gonna show up. And it's gonna show up when you least want it to. Because it'll always be people that look like Andre. And every time I see them, something in me cringes.
Don't trust no name of Andre.
Right, no, I don't trust nothing like it. No name Andre,
No
no
name.
build like him, no name Hudson, no name Demetrius, right? No, none of those names. None of those, I don't trust none of them.
Don't trust no name.
I don't trust none of them. And the reality is, it's not them. We got to deal with us. The third thing we have to deal with is our perception. Acknowledge your perception. And acknowledge that your perception may be wrong. It may be wrong. And stop attempting to inflict your perception on other people. No, some people aren't going to see things the way that you see them. You know why? Because we see things from a dysfunctional place. And if all we've experienced is dysfunction, anytime function comes or function arises, we classify that as dysfunction when it's really function. All right? So what do I need to do? Well, we need to understand that education plus application demolishes stagnation. That's what we have to realize. So it's not enough just to be educated in the area of dealing with situations. You have to apply what you've learned to deal with those situations so you can demolish the stagnation in your life. All right? So what do we need to do? We need to confront. Martina earlier said, I just keep running from stuff. If something happened to me, I just keep going. I just keep going. And I'm leaving a trail of undealt with stuff that should be buried. And the sad part about it is, now you're leaving a trail for your children and those that are connected to your destiny. As they're walking, now they're tripping over the stuff that you didn't bury. So that's why we have to go back, kill what needs to be killed, and bury it, because if not, we're going to produce a generation that's going to trip over the stuff that we refuse to deal with. Or they'll be running hurdles, and they're not even supposed to run hurdles. We'll make their path harder because we just haven't dealt with it. Oh well, okay, all right, let me just continue on. No, we got to go back and deal with those things. Confront what needs to be confronted. And when I say confront, I don't mean go confronting everybody. Andre, in 4th grade, you pulled my chair out, and everybody laughed. And I want you to know that I've been wanting to pull your chair out for many years. No, not that type of confrontation. I'm talking about confronting inside of us. Because we're real good at, some of us are good at confrontation with other people. We enjoy it, and some of us say we don't enjoy it, but then when we do it, we're experts at it. And people have to pull us back with it. But we're not very good at confronting ourselves. Now, we're good at having pity parties. We're good at being hard on ourselves. But I'm talking about confronting yourself where you make yourself get up, grow, and move on. Confront some of these things that we've ran from. Confront it. Don't just confront your former relationships. Confront what led you to that. Confront the quality in you that attracts what you attract. Because now we can't keep saying, I hate to hear I hear this all the time. All men are dogs. All women are users. They just want you. They gold diggers. No, baby. Probably all the women that you dealt with are like that, and all the men that you dealt with are like that. So what you have to do is dig within yourself and see, why do I keep attracting that? Because it's not necessarily them that has to be dealt with, but it is that thing that attracts and draws them to you that you have to deal with. So confront it. We're going to confront the issues in us. Then we're going to release. We are going to release people. We're going to release ourselves, and we're going to release those timelines in our life that continue to come up and interfere with our progress. Because like I said, it's not necessarily Andre. It's the timeline. What else was I going through at that time? We have to be honest about that. Because we want to always put it on Andre. But what else was I going through at that time? Because when I exploded, I didn't just explode on him. It was other things that led up to that I really don't want to deal with. But I can deal with him. Because if I deal with him, it'll distract me. Accountable. Develop an accountability team. A team of people that will hold you accountable. Now, hypothetically, if Andre and me smoke weed, and I'm attempting to stop smoking weed, I'm not going to put Andre on my accountability team. That's the reality of it. Why? Because instead of him holding me accountable, see, so guess what we're going to be doing? We're going to be smoking. You need to develop an accountability team with strengths in areas that you are weak, that you have strengths in areas that they are weak. Now, sidebar. I'm not saying become each other's pastor. I'm not saying create a church outside of a church. I'm saying become a city. Become a city where your conversation isn't always laughing, joking, playing, but sometimes even in your laughing and joking, you're helping each other grow and develop as well, and it takes the weight off of overseer, it takes the weight off of Lady Nika, it takes the weight off of Pastor Lane, and ultimately it takes the weight off of Apostle. When you get a team that's going to hold you accountable, that will say, no, you're not making a good decision. You don't need to make that decision anymore. Because every time you make the decision, you find yourself right back in the same state you were in 3 weeks ago. That will hold you accountable. But can I be honest with y'all? Before you can do the accountability, you got to do step 1 and step 2 first.
Mm-hmm.
Because the worst thing about developing accountability teams is when you're going to lie to the people you're accountable to. That defeats the purpose. You don't want to be the one that still continues. And this is what happened is, well, Candy was supposed to hold me accountable and she didn't. No, she couldn't because you lied to her. You presented a lie to her, and Candy's just sitting there like, I just feel like they're not telling me the truth, but hey, they said it. No, you need an accountability team that can tell you to, you're lying.
Stop that.
Stop lying. Because y'all, if we're ever going to deal with the past and the pain, to get a better perception about everything in life, because y'all, I'm done, but I could even go into our finances, how it affects our finances, how it affects our spiritual walk, how it affects our everyday life, how it affects the way we interpret the scripture, how it affects how we feel God feels about us. All of those things, your inability to forgive yourself and think that God doesn't forgive you, all is wrapped into the pain from your childhood.
Wow.
That you won't confront. That little girl within, that little boy within that keeps screaming out, listen, I'm ready to grow up. Let me go. But you say, oh, no. I can't let you go because you're my comfort. I keep resorting back to you every time I'm getting ready to grow, and they're pushing me to grow, but it hurts. I gotta keep going back to that childhood. And we do need to visit the childhood. But this time we need to visit it not at recess and have fun with it, but we have to revisit the childhood, not at snack time. I've been missing that snack time. And you know what I'm mad about, y'all? They do snack in every grade in elementary level. When I was in school, we only got it in kindergarten. They do it and I'm telling y'all, you need to watch some of those things, because some of those things too, and I'm not saying that snack is a bad thing, but some of that stuff too causes people to grow up with entitlement issues. Because you gave me a snack all the way up to 5th grade. I'm 23 now, where my snack at?
Cool.
No, they do that.
Where my snack at?
That's true.
It makes you think that that's what you're entitled to, because I don't have to earn it. I get it. It's mine. But confront. What's the next one? I gave y'all 3 steps. Confront. Release.
And accountability.
Be accountable. If we do those 3 things, we'll watch our communication become more effective. Verbal as well as nonverbal. Any questions? No questions?